welcome to the Driven Career Podcast. This is a space where we talk about professional life and personal development to inspire you to overcome the challenges and grow in your career. And today, our guest is Gabriela Ephrem. Gabriela is a director of sales and partnership at Coco, which is a flexible workspace and event hub based in Minneapolis. And today we're going to talk about all of her journey, and I hope you're inspired to learn with Gabriela today. Let's go to the episode. Hello, Gabby. How are you today?
I'm good, Rachel. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so happy to have you here. I am so excited for our conversation. And I need to disclose that just before starting this recording, Gabby and I were just catching up. And oh my God, so much you were thinking, oh my God, we want to talk about all of these things in the podcast. So let's see if we can cover most of that. But the conversation today is really to touch into how Gabriela Ephrem has been building her career, international career, how has been all the challenges and all the beautiful journey that you have been going through. So I have so much that I want to dive in talking to you today, Gabby. And let's start from your introduction. So tell us a little bit about who you are and what do you do?
Yeah, thank you, Rachel. Yeah, we have a long past together. So I am so happy to connect with you and to see that both of us are where we are today and we still have a long way to go. Gabriela, so my background is luxury hospitality. So I have over 15 years experiencing the luxury hospitality world. I found myself in the luxury hospitality. I also got married and had my first child, which took me back to a career pause. I was raising my firstborn. I had a business, a shoe business that did not go as planned. So I also have the failed business that has taught me a lot.
Yeah.
And after having that career pause and coming back to the corporate world, I found myself my true calling in sales and business development. So that's where my passion is. That I learned from the business as well. So I loved the sales, connecting, networking events. So amongst everything I did, that was my calling.
Oh, I can totally see that, Gabby. That's your personality. You're so easy to talk. You're so easy to connect. And I have met
Yeah.
so many people through you because you're so social. So I know that you're
Yeah.
I like to hear that you're following your call. That's great. That's a good connection.
Yes, absolutely.
Nice. Okay. So now let's start from how you have built your international career. Let's just go back to the timeline here to understand how was your story. Like
Yeah.
if you could share a little bit how it all started. How did you decide to pursue these opportunities beyond your home country?
Yeah, so after I graduated from school, I realized that there was no opportunity for me to grow in the hospitality, the luxury hospitality hotel industry without a strong English. So I decided to come to the USA for an exchange program. And my goal was to be here, learn English, and go back to Brazil and pick up where I had left, which was the beginning of my career. Little did I know that what happens is because I came after I graduated from school, so I already had my bachelor's degree. It's that sense of always wanting to grow, right? It came right after I was ready to take off, and the opportunity came where I decided to move from Michigan to Chicago. And I was able to get an internship. It was actually with a New Zealand / Australian company. And from there, I created this networking community in Chicago. And my friend was moving from Chicago to LA for a bigger opportunity. And she referred me to join the Sofitel Hotel. So I interviewed and then I started my career there.
Networking, the power of
Networking.
networking.
Yes, stay connected with everyone you know through networking. I strongly believe it's the only way you can do it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And you've been always so driven. So you're always looking for more. And that's why you are where you are at today.
Yes, I'm not afraid to ask for what I want or to lay out what I'm looking for. And this is something I had to learn throughout the years, Rachel. I also think that when we move from our home country where we have our personality, we have, our culture, we know where we belong and come to a different country, you have to prove yourself all over again. And sometimes what I also think is that not everything you thought you were is what you truly are.
Yeah.
So it's this evolving, it's the growth of life. It's to rediscover yourself, to discover a new country, to discover a new culture. And it is the most challenging thing in life, but it's the most rewarding thing in life, right? So it has been truly a very powerful journey.
Yeah, I want to highlight the self-discovery because I think it has a lot to do with that. I've been following you on LinkedIn and yeah, and we are friends. I know how I've been growing most of because you're super driven. And today you are in executive level, you are a director, but we know that when you started, we have our challenges, especially when we are starting a new country, starting a new company. Starting a new company alone, we face challenges. It can be culture, it can be, all the beginnings. So let's dive a little bit into how was your challenges when you started? Like, what were the biggest challenges that you have faced throughout this journey, all the way to where you are at today?
Can I be as honest as I can?
Yes.
It was so hard, so hard.
I
So
know.
to begin with, I did not have a work visa. So I came with a work visa, but it was only valid for 2 years and I had to stay in this program. So then I first changed my visa to a student visa. So that would allow me to do my training program, kind of an internship. It's very challenging because one, you're not ahead where you can just, here, I can start working tomorrow. So the company has to believe that you're going to stay with the company. And then there is the language barrier, right?
Hmm.
So there is the basic language I had learned for 2.5 years. And I'm like, yeah, no, I can communicate. I speak English. And then you get to the business world, you get that
Yes.
opportunity like, I don't speak English. What are they talking about? There is the
There's
jargons,
so much more vocabulary.
so much more. And the other thing I feel like we forget sometimes, Rachel, especially for me coming from a smaller town in Brazil, in the US, I was in Chicago. So just because someone speaks English doesn't mean that that person is from the USA. So they're being reported to someone from, where was he from? I forgot, but it was Austria, right? So it's a completely different culture.
Hmm.
The general manager was from France. And so not only you are living in a different country, but you're also faced with different cultures. So it's like your culture, and you're reporting to that person. You need to know where that person is coming from. Um, so that was definitely a big challenge. Also,
The leadership style as well, right, Gabby?
absolutely. So like you get someone that comes from yeah, like in the US you have the leadership style where the western culture you learn because that's where you're living, so you learn that culture. But if you're reporting to someone that is not from here, the leadership culture is very different.
Hmm.
So for me, it was also like having, in the beginning, especially having the words, having the ability to stand up for myself or to communicate or to know how to ask for in a professional way. So
Hmm.
those were very challenging in the beginning for sure.
And Gabi, I know you were super confident. How did you develop this confidence along the way? Because what you're saying is you learned how to communicate and ask the right questions, and I believe that's pretty much how you got to the level you are at today as you were building your career. How did you build up this confidence? Were you always confident, or did you learn as you're going through the fire in the workplace?
I love to hear when people say I'm confident because I always feel like I'm not confident.
uh
I know, but thank you. Yes, I have this opportunity. But Rachel, I have this quality of having a posture where I can arrive anywhere and everywhere. And I, even if I'm in 99% of the time, I am extremely anxious, like, or I am, lost at times, but I don't show. You just present yourself well and you move forward until you feel better and more relaxed. But one thing that I have to share with you is I remembered my mom. One thing she has taught me that I have valued the most, she always said, Gabby, no matter what you do in life, do it well. So, to translate that simple message, I believe that the way I have taken that advice was if you are doing something below what you're capable of, because a lot of times when you move to another country, you submit yourself to things you never thought you would do it.
mhm.
And when you do it well. So I'll tell you that my first internship in Chicago came from a CEO dad that I used to babysit his daughter.
Wow.
And Susan, the wife, knew I was looking to move to Chicago. So my first job didn't come from me working at a corporation, but it came from something I was doing, but I was doing well. And I remembered because my job was to take care of her daughter, but I used to clean up the dishes. I used to clean up the fridge if I had time. I used to help her with dinner. I used to wash the fruits and vegetables. Very simple tasks that took me a long way. I used to take the toys that the daughter had grown out of it. And I'm like, she's not playing with this toy. What about I'm going to put it on this side? Always beyond what I was asked for. And the same as today, I do work for a startup company and I help, if the host is sick and if they need someone to be at the front desk, I'm proud to be there. Just because I'm in the leadership executive team doesn't mean that I can't do it. I'm there
Mhm.
to do it. Now, I will say that just because you can do it doesn't mean you can't stand up for yourself and ask for more.
Because you know your value and you know what you can do, right? When you were, let's
Yes.
take an example, when you were babysitting, you already had a career, you already working in other things back to your home country, but that doesn't mean that whatever you were doing, you were applying excellence. And that's how you got to have your recommendation whenever you were ready for now it's time to move up, it's time to start my corporate career, right?
Exactly it. And Rachel, I also had to take many steps back and ask myself why I chose the business with minor in hospitality. Why? Why was I so passionate about that career? It wasn't like the hotel aspect. It wasn't the restaurant aspect. It was about serving people. So I apply what my passion was and what I learned in school towards life. Even today, when I'm working with a prospect to close a deal, my goal is to provide the best product I have to that client. It's not to make the money. Of course, closing a deal is very
Mm-hmm.
important, but is to listen, is to connect with that person. As you said, is to offer excellence. And if you apply what you believe in everything you do in life, it's going to go well. I actually have a fun story to share with you.
Okay.
It is, I don't think I'll get in trouble because I can't even remember his name, but there was one time in Chicago, I had left work and I had this shift and I ended at like 7, 8 p.m. So I stopped at the grocery store after my work just to pick up, I think it was 2 or 3 items. No, I was shopping for the whole grocery. Like I had a whole cart of groceries. And I was next in line to pay, and there was like these two cops, two police officers behind me, just with some gummies and things very simple. And I'm like, no, you have 2 items. You go ahead of me. I'm not going to make you wait, right? For me to go through my entire grocery. And they thanked me and we left. So I got in my car. They got in their car. They were on duty. So they were wearing the police cap. So 2 seconds later, the cops pulled me so I could see the lights. And I'm like, I didn't do anything wrong.
What have I done?
He comes. So the cop pulled me and he's like, I just want to thank you for what you did. It meant a lot to us. Here is my card. If you need anything, I would like for you to contact me. A week later, someone hit and run and totaled my car.
Wow.
I contacted the cop, and because I had the license plate, we were able to find the person.
See.
Little things in life that you can do, as simple as opening the door, as simple as letting someone with 2 items ahead of you. And that applies to your career, that applies to your opportunity in life.
That's so true. I'm just thinking about how important it is to pay attention on our surroundings. I mean, it's not only in the workplace, but on your day to day. That is actually an exercise. You can try every day, have that in mind, because I do notice that we are all so busy,
Mhm.
especially nowadays that we are so much on our phones. I noticed that when we were walking on the streets, everyone with they have their heads down, so people are not really reading the room. They're not paying attention to the surroundings, and there are a lot of opportunities that I see the humanity is missing up. It's just
Yeah.
missing the opportunity to be kind or to help. And I see like in these little things. And as you leave your day, you can also think about how you can apply that in the workplace.
A
Because
hundred
if
percent.
right, because you are paying attention, like you are wired to pay attention in your surroundings. So you helped. That was act of kindness that you basically exercised in a grocery store,
Yeah.
and look what happened. And so much more can happen when you're connecting, when you are kind. Sometimes just smiling to someone,
Hmm.
you can make the day of someone just because you smile. And the opposite can also reflect on your day. So you never know what's around the corner. You never know what's about to happen, right? So look what happened to you just in the
Exactly,
following week.
exactly. It's just, if you're doing, and especially when we're having hard days or hard times, it's sometimes it's hard to really focus that that's just a passage and there are there are brighter days to come.
Hmm.
So it's hard. And as you said, with our phones, always looking down, perhaps keep your phone in your pocket, right? So just
Simple.
don't use the phone while you're walking or while you were, doing something. Just focus on your surroundings.
Yeah. I want to go back a bit of what you were saying in terms of the challenges that you went through, really to highlight in terms of building an international career, because I'm very passionate about this topic because I know the challenges that we go through. It's so different from when we're just building our career in our home country. And that starts from what you mentioned of your time, your limited time you had, in terms of visa. And that's another thing that usually we need to be very quick to respond. So,
Hmm.
I mean, back to you had a career back in your home country. Then you decide you want to expand, you want to learn English, and then you move to a new country. But then you learn that I can do much more. I know I can do other things here. So, first, you have that limited time. So, you have to work on that. You need to create a strategy. You've had to create a
Yes.
strategy,
Yes, and
right?
I think also owning your path. So, especially so for me, I have always been able to work with an attorney, but even with an attorney, I always owned my paperwork because there were mistakes. So with the Sofitel, when I interviewed, and that was the nice thing about the hotel industry because they're so used to international professionals and working with visa and immigration. It was an easier process in a way, but I was always ahead. I knew the expiration of my
Yeah.
visa. I knew when I had to apply because as you know, oftentimes the HR division, they are so busy. They have so much to do. It's like 1,000 employees. You were not top of their mind. So I always kept my uh, dates, how to do the process. And remember, Rachel, this was back in 2009, 2010. So
Yes.
there was no Google to talk
Yes.
to as much. Like the chat GPT wasn't there. So it was a little bit of one asking people if I knew an attorney, I would ask, or, even going out. I'm just like at a bar if I needed to
Yes.
ask for a question. Always thinking ahead. So I would go to my HR manager and say, here is all the information. This is what we have to do. Can you help me get to the next level? So again, going back to, oh, it's their job to do it. Yes, it's their
No.
job, but what about you be proactive and really focus on you only have one task is to make sure you're up to date and it's only yourself. Your colleague that works in HR has a whole list of things to take care of. So that was one thing. And also, of course, feel like it's very. So, one thing I feel like I wish I had done better is because you are in a work visa, you were not sure you were going to be in that country for the rest of your life or what's going to happen. Things can happen.
Yes,
One
that's a
thing I
good point because you don't know what's going to happen, even though you try as much as you can to be ahead, like, I mean, take care of the paperwork and all that, but you never know what's the decision. So you don't really, it's hard to create that strategy because you don't know where you're going to be at, right?
exactly. And that creates like you're always in this limbo,
Yeah.
which it can be very, very stressful or it creates an anxiety. So, one thing that I wish I had done better was to plan for the worst and wish for the best. And that I mean in a way like save money, start your retirement account because you will be able to take that money with you if things go wrong. So I feel like I'm speaking about the US market, right? So I'm in the USA, we have a different plan. So like we have what's called K for retirement. We have other types of ways to put your money aside and saving taxes and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. Maybe we just went through the tax season, so maybe I'm also thinking about that. Plan, save money, focus as if you're going to be here forever. And if you don't, you have that savings, you have that investment, you have that retirement account. So don't let your present challenge, or I would say, do not let your present instability to dictate how you want your future to be.
That's so true because as you have this uncertainty, that doesn't mean you still can work on your plans. Even if you have to have a plan A, plan B, plan C. And I hear
Yes.
what you're saying, and that's very common here in Canada as well. We do have working holiday visas, and depending which country you're coming from, sometimes you have 1 year, sometimes you have 2 years. So you have to be, as you said, very proactive to keep an eye on your timeline and create your strategy
Hmm.
regardless. And regardless where you are at, keep the excellence because again, we don't know what life can take you tomorrow. And I always believe
Yeah.
that you're always recognized for your hard work and for your excellence. But Gabi, as
Yeah.
you were talking, I also thought about how about the habits? Because as you're going through all of this journey, you developed so many habits, maybe mindset that you had to adjust here and there. What are the main things that you believe that helped you to get to where you are at today? Like the best habit or type of mindset, or what do you believe that helped you to grow throughout your journey?
Yeah. So, Rachel, I do have a side of me that it's definitely not the logical side. So, I truly believe in energy and inspiration. I am a big believer in vision boards,
Mm-hmm.
so it can be silly for so many people, but this is something I really believe in, just to create a vision board where you can see who do you want to be, dress up like the person you want to be. What does that person drive? Where does that person live? And work towards that, right? And it's that habit. But also, I would say there is a side of me that the studying part, right? Taking courses like LinkedIn is amazing. There's so many courses out there. Even when I decided to I was in revenue management. Sales is part of who I am as a person, but there are many strategies in sales that needs more understanding and, the art of negotiation, how to close a deal and things like that. So there are so many free courses out there, so many opportunities. Just sit down. I have always wanted to do my MBA in the USA. It is still, hard for me to think about taking a big loan and doing something like that. So I still have that as my goal at some
Mm-hmm.
point in my life. But of course, now I have kids and there are other things. That doesn't stop me from learning through different platforms, from learning even on YouTube. There are so many lessons and
Yes.
opportunities like this podcast. Listen to the podcast for inspiration
Yes.
and also the technical skills. I think so for me, the habit is the belief system that I have, especially in difficult times. I always believe it's just a cycle to get me through where I want to be. So that positive side. And the second side is you have to sit down and study. You have to improve your English. You have to improve the language you are in the country you are living
Yes.
in if that's not your main language.
And so many other aspects, as you mentioned, the technical part as well, right? Because once you are clear about your career or what you want to do, and again, what you mentioned at the beginning, when you know your why, it's easy to connect the dots. Okay, this is my why. These are the things I love to do. This is my passion. And then what do I need to do to get there?
Yeah, it's
strategy,
interesting. Yes.
right? And
And
then you
also I
mentioned about
was,
the technical aspect. You need to learn the things that you need to learn to get to the point where you want to be in your vision board, let's say.
yeah, and I think that's, sorry to even try to interrupt, but there is something I don't want to take credit for what I heard from Jay Shetty. We're talking about a little bit before we started recording. He says something that is very, it was interesting because I started believing that when I found that it took me so long to close my business because I had that passion. I knew it was time to let it go, but I had a hard time quitting. And Jay Shetty said in one of his podcasts, which I'm just starting to listen to, he's like, we need to learn how to be more of a quitter. Quit something if it's not the right thing for you. But if you don't have the strategy, if you don't know where you want to get to in life, you can't quit what's not working for you.
Exactly. Yeah, because when you have a clarity, the challenge is also recognize the things you have to say no or the things you need to let go.
Exactly. Yeah,
That's
it's,
how that comes into place, the clarity to help you with your decisions.
yes. I actually just had someone calling me for a job offer. It was a higher job offer, and I said no. And it was like, as soon as I learned, and the reason why I said no is because it's not that it's not a great opportunity, but it's because it's not the right time with my personal life. I have a daughter, she's 4 years old. I can also knowing when is the right time. And I told him, I said, listen, I'm here to help you even after you hire someone else. And here is a list of people I recommend and I think would be perfect for the job, but it is not the right job for me right now. I didn't close the door. And I'm still there. I'd love to help and learn because the opportunity may arise in a few years where I will need. But exactly what you're saying, know what you need, your strategy, where you are in life today.
Yeah, we were talking about that. Just disclose again a bit off before we start recording because we both have kids, and that also comes into the challenge of managing your time. Not only managing your day to day time, but also understanding what season of life you are. So that's when it comes down to say no. Even sometimes it hurts. You're going to say no to some opportunities, but you really need to put that on the scale and really have that very clear to you that when is it the moment? Is it the right moment for me to take on this? Can I take more responsibilities? Do I have the capacity for that?
Exactly. Exactly. That's
Right.
so true. That is very true.
And Gabby, so we're just coming to the end, but just before we go, I'm very curious to understand, as you mentioned, I know when you just came to the US, you didn't really have the English, the level of an executive vocabulary and so on, and you have been building your international career along the years. Can you share a little bit how have you built your reputation in the US?
Networking, connecting with people. Yes, and being the same person outside your workspace and in your personal life. I have always been very I focus a lot, Rachel, in also having a diversity of group of people. So like I have amazing friends from born and raised in the US, born and raised in Europe, always having that group of networking, that support system, but also focusing, I think now the way I see as well, Rachel, sometimes I talk to you also thinking about our past, like when we were just starting our career, but I would say like today, I am very intentional on my networking events. And I also like to focus, as you said, in our busy lives with kids and life. I am very intentional who I'm meeting at that networking event, and also separating friendship and a career driven networking person that I connect with. So I stay in touch with a lot of my connections. It's as simple as like a quick lunch or a quick call or a quick coffee. Don't wait until you need a help,
Yeah.
until you need the help from someone to connect with them. Don't let that connection to be forgotten.
Yes, I love that. We need to highlight that, especially nowadays with all the technology, right, Gabby? We are
Mhm.
speaking here from Canada, a US, and so many other countries. I have talked to, we had episodes with friends from Europe and so on. So you can also do that. Just go on LinkedIn, go back to your contacts, make sure you manage that networking. I know it's hard. As you said, we need to be very intentional about our time, but that's why calendar is that for.
Yes,
Sometimes you need to,
exactly.
I
Oh
think I
yeah,
just got to the season in life. I have to set time to talk to my friends on calendar.
yeah.
Everyone is so busy.
Yes, 100%. I have a shared calendar with my family, like my husband. I have a shared calendar at work. There are so many calendars, and I have to add to my calendar. It's so true.
Yeah, time management, it's crucial,
Yes.
and yeah, and clarity. So time management, clarity, how to say no, learn
Yeah.
when and how to say no. I think these are the main things. If I can add to what you were saying, because that's all
No,
about my guest
exactly.
first.
Yes. Be a quitter when you have to be a quitter. It's okay.
Exactly.
Know your priority. Know your priority. Know where you want to be in life, not someone else. And it's okay to change. That's another
Yeah,
thing I have struggled with. It's okay to change. It's okay
yeah,
to be, someone else and become another person. It's your
exactly.
choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As you go through this self discovery, right? And nowadays we have career strategists, right?
100%.
We have to make use of that. It's always great
Yes.
to learn with people that went through the
Yes.
pain that you can learn from others. Yeah, no, I mean, jokes aside, but like you mentioned, you have a diverse group of friends, and we learn so much with friends and with
Yes.
everyone else that we meet in life. If you're open to that, if you're exercising the listening skills, you are just learning so much. Gabby, just before we go, I know our time is coming to the end here. We talked about so many things, but is there any other thing you would like to highlight and leave with our audience today, especially for those that are thinking about or they're going through this competitive market of building an international career? What practical advice you would give to someone that wants to stand out and thrive in the international market?
Do not let the no's be a hurdle in your life. You are going to hear so many no's in your
Hmm.
life, and don't let that define who you are.
Learn with the no.
Learn with the no. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that will not define who you are. And I think it took me a long time to learn that.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, wow. There's a movie coming through my mind now. Yeah, but I will share my story another time. But yes, I
Yes.
totally agree with that. If we had stopped on with our first no, imagine where would we be today?
Yeah.
Would you be a
Hmm.
director today?
No, I would not. Well,
Right?
probably. Like, no, yeah.
Don't
Maybe.
take no as a
No.
no. Yeah,
Yeah.
keep going.
Don't take no as a definition of who you are. It doesn't
Great.
define who you are. It's their choice to say no. It's your choice to say thank you and move on to the next opportunity that defines who you have decided to be.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much, Gabi. I love everything
Thank
you
you.
mentioned. I knew our conversation would be so great because I know you have so much experience. You have gone through a lot of challenges, and I know that you are at where you are at today because you've been resilient. You have been
Yes.
persevering and fighting and really doing so and doing your best, and again applying your
Yeah.
excellence, paying attention in your surrounds, and always being kind. One thing that I can definitely say about you, because I know you personally, it's how
Thank you.
kind you are and careful with people in general. So you are in the right place. Yeah, I just
Thank
want to
you.
wish you so much success moving forward, and thank you so much for being here today in the Driven Career Podcast.
Thank you, Rachel. It was so much fun. Way more fun than I thought that it would be, and a way it was really, really nice to be able to share. And I hope this podcast reaches out to so many people looking for a change or need some help. And you are an amazing person. And as you said, finding someone with the experience in the industry to help you, it's very important too. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Gabi. Well, and if you have listened to us all to the end, thank you so much for spending time with us. Our intention here is really that you take on this conversation as an inspiration, and again, take on the advice from Gabi to learn with your path, with your journey. Don't accept that no to define who you are. That is so important to know your value, and that's why we are here talking today, really to emphasize that it is possible. It is possible to not only build a international career, but really build the career you want. You just need to be driven and keep going. So thanks for staying all the way here. So we are going to come back with another amazing episode next week. If you like this content, if you like this type of conversation, make sure you like and subscribe to learn more about the other things we're talking here at the podcast, the Driven Career Podcast. And until then, have an amazing week. I will see you in the next episode. Stay driven.
Stay driven.